Okay, I think we're live. We had some pretty groovy panpipe music there in the background for the last 30 seconds to get us in the mood. So let's get it going. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining the first session of Transform Startup and Scale Up. And you're all very welcome. My name is Owen Stack. I'm the Commercial Director here at DCU Business School. I'll be your MC for today's fireside chat. And joining us today, we have Bernard Brogan and Ciaran Mulligan. So as you may know, the Transform series is a new free online seminar, and it's going to explore the growing impact of digital transformation on business and society. We'll be covering a total of 6 areas ranging from the future of work to smart cities and communities, the circular economy, and many more. Today, however, we're looking at the second of these areas by focusing on the startup and scale-up industry. We're delighted to be joined by Bernard Brogan, Commercial Director of Legacy and founder of PepTalk.ie. Bernard's a former Dublin Gaelic footballer. We're also joined by Ciaran Mulligan, entrepreneur, co-founder, and until very recently, managing director of Blue Insurance. They'll be telling us a little bit more about their work in enabling digital transformation in the startup and scale-up community. So to the audience, feel free to send in your questions during the session. Please use the Q&A function. You'll find that at the bottom of your screen. So the chat function is disabled. The only way to get through to us with questions is using the Q&A tab. At the end of the conversation between myself, Ciaran, and Bernard, we should have some time for Q&A. So in the meantime, start getting some questions in there. If any of you are on social media at the moment, the hashtag is hashtag Transform Startup and Scale Up. Bit of a mouthful, but if you're live, please use that. So without further delay, I'm going to introduce you to Ciaran and Bernard. Hi guys, do you want to say hello?
How are you doing? Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, you're very welcome, and thanks for joining me on a rainy Monday afternoon here in Dublin. So look, you got the intro, you see what the brief is about. Normally we might be talking about other things with both of you, but today we're going to keep it on digital transformation and entrepreneurship and starting up and scaling up. So let me start with a little bit more introduction. So Bernard, I'll start with you. You're probably best known for your sporting career. What is it, 13 Leinster titles, 7 All-Irelands, 4 All-Stars, 12-year career in the blue jersey, is that right? 2000 prior to Dublin. You won the Sigerson Cup with DCU, so you are actually a DCU alum, and you studied here in the business school. Actually, you did a professional diploma in accounting and a master's in management. Is that right?
Yeah, I went through my postgraduate. I spent 2.5 years trying to stay and play football, but also get an education on the way. And I was lucky I picked a great qualification in accountancy. I started my accountancy route in that professional diploma you mentioned, but also a really great course in management and business management, which gave you a good wide understanding of business, which is always nice. You know what I mean? It's kind of similar to an MBA kind of route of as in subjects change management and a bit of accounting and a bit of macro and microeconomics with that. So it was a nice balance. Yeah, that stood to me. I went on to become an accountant. Playing football and kind of middle of my career, I kind of thought about the end of my career. When I was about 27, I started Legacy, which is very much started as a kind of a digital marketing and sponsorship technology. And very much now, even through COVID, we have evolved and adapted, and we will be a new entity. I suppose I learned growth mindset and change is important to stay sustainably on top through Dublin and through our culture. So we looked at our business that struggled through COVID, like a lot of businesses, and we've reformed and realigned, and we're going to be looking at brand and search, which is a more digital, as you say, digitalization of the marketing sphere, something that Ciaran will know a lot about in his world in Blue Insurance. But yeah, and then PepTalk as well, founded probably out of demand through Legacy, been involved in sport and been involved with a great team and great culture, been asked a lot around mindset, resilience, leadership, all of these things. And we looked at how we could deliver this at scale, and technology was the only solution to that. So PepTalk is basically a technology hub where we drive culture and drive supports for employees. So obviously post-COVID, in a remote, disseminated workforce, PepTalk is that watering hole, the positivity of energy, of support, and we're seeing big demand now as we're scaling up and going through a funding VC conversation stuff now. So it's an important time.
Great. Well, Ciaran, do you want to unmute yourself? And I'm going to bring you in.
Sure.
Also want to introduce Ciaran Mulligan. So entrepreneur and, like I said earlier on, former MD of Blue Insurance, which is Ireland's niche insurance company. And I think for a lot of people online today, they may or may not have heard of Blue Insurance, but they might have heard of a lot of the brands underneath Blue. So brands like multitrip.com, petinsurance.ie, gadget insurance, wedding insurance. There's an insurance kind of brand there. And Ciaran was the co-founder of that business. But recently, or 2 years ago, you sold the business, and just very recently then you were able to leave and exit. Is that right, about 2 weeks ago?
Yes, I'm retired 2 weeks ago, and apologies, I have a builder out the back who's decided to start scraping the ground as the call started, so apologies about that. But yes, 2 weeks retired. First week I wasn't well for the first week. It wasn't COVID, it was just stomach bug. I don't know whether that's to come down from the working and trying to relax the body or whatever, but yes, 2 weeks now. So I'm looking forward to the lead up to Christmas, getting out walking the dog and enjoying it and not having 200 emails every couple of hours come through on the phone, and just chill out for a little bit, you know. But I'd say probably come the new year, I'll probably be looking for the next opportunity and the next sort of maybe go back to work in you know, February or March. We'll see how it goes. But at the moment, I'm enjoying the break. It's nice downtime.
And Ciaran, you are starting to dabble in a little bit of investment in other startups as well. Is that right?
Yes, I invested earlier on in the year, even before I finished in Blue. I invested in a company called Botanical. They're based at Botanical.ie, and they do essential oils and diffusers, health and well-being. And I've also invested in a HR platform called Epion, which we're using in Blue as well, or we were using in Blue. That's just something I see opportunities into the future as well. I'm looking to expand that internationally and so on. So yeah, I have a few other ideas in the pipeline myself. I want to do a coffee chain myself next year, and have an idea that actually I worked on with DCU back in 2016 regarding a courier solution for courier companies. So that could be in the pipeline in the next year as well. We'll see how it goes, you know.
Great. Okay. Well, listen, we're delighted to have the two of you here today. I'm going to take the conversation now back to the start of, I suppose, how you both got started in your respective careers. Bernard, I see it's interesting. I looked you up on Wikipedia because, you know, there's a lot going on there in the background, but obviously a lot of the coverage of you is around you and your sporting career. But even as you mentioned in your own introduction there, you have a lot of different kind of business credentials. So Legacy, which was a traditional PR and event management company, which you mentioned has had to pivot because of COVID a little bit recently. Through that, you've done some branding over the years using your own personal brand, I suppose, to do everything from clothing lines to different brands of crisps, if I think I'm right. You've been involved in the hotel industry as well. And just recently as well, you've launched a book. So you're the author of The Hill, which I think came out in September, just recently. And I presume is in all the best online bookshops and available for Christmas. A really nice stocking filler there. Yeah. But Wikipedia actually lists you as a businessman. Of all the things that you're doing, you're there at the top of the page. So you've gone from being an accountant to going on to being a business person. Equally, Ciaran, if I'm right, you started out as an insurance broker and then saw the potential of the internet for offering online insurance. So went from kind of working as a broker in that industry to actually getting started with your co-founder. So just like to start by asking either of you to kind of chip in and talk about right back at the start, did you both consciously kind of decide that you wanted to be an entrepreneur or see yourself as an entrepreneur, or how did it all happen right at the start?
Well, I'm
going to let you go.
That's okay. You sort out the noise there, the builders. fundamentally for me, I'm sure Ciaran's the same. I saw an opportunity. Obviously, a lot of my brand, Brogan, as a person, is wrapped up in GAA, and obviously had an amazing time, an amazing journey. But obviously, I'm a lot more than that. I'm very ambitious, and I'm very passionate about the areas I work in. But I also like to keep moving. I like to do new things. I became an accountant. I left shortly after becoming qualified, because I like to keep on the move, and I love the difference that every day business owner allows you or throws at you. Call it entrepreneur, call it business owner, whatever it is, but every day is different. Every day is a different challenge. There's financials, there's people, HR, there's new sales, there's business development, all of the different remit of owning the business and having to think about all the things. I love that. I love the variety of it. But fundamentally, why I got into business, playing with Dublin and having that network, I saw an opportunity, and I'm sure Ciaran saw the same himself. I saw an opportunity that every organization in this country has GA people in it, and GA is an amazing organization and network. And I thought there was an opportunity to capitalize on that. And Dublin obviously being a capital, and we had reasonable success, and it has been the case that every door, more or less, in every organization, you get a warm welcome. Yes, you have to have the tools, or you have to have the product to sell, but it isn't amazing that most businesses that I'm trying to get into, I can get that avenue in through someone that knows GA or that is involved in it. So I'm very lucky like that sport has given me a great opportunity, and I try to take it. Legacy, we're based down in Lucan here, as I said, we're a traditional agency and sponsorship and PR, and very much evolved. And we see a really great opportunity into the future. And the same with PepTalk, as I said, especially people in sport, they understand what high performance is, what culture is, and they wanted to understand how they could bring that into their own teams and their own organizations. And that's where technology has allowed us to build it on. And it's gone past Brogan or the Dubs or anything like that. It's now like we're selling to global organizations across UK, across the States, across Asia, and stuff like that. So it's we're only on that accelerator path now, but it's been great. So that's kind of where the start of it came for me.
Great. And Ciaran, can you remember back to the point where you decided to go from being an insurance broker to actually taking the plunge and setting up your own business and creating Blue with your co-founder?
Yeah, I mean, apologies about that. I'll be the postman at the door and the dog jumped on, so sorry about that. Yes, no, I think really for me, I wanted to be my own boss. I knew there was an opportunity because at the time back in 2003, when we were setting up, there was very few online solutions on insurance. And any ones that were sort of halfway there, you couldn't actually buy online. So from our point of view, initially we were looking at travel agents and travel agents booking, which is where the Blue name came up from, Blue Sky, Blue Sea, relating to travel.
Okay.
But we kind of felt we could do it better. We could be more competitive, slicker, easier for the agents to book for the consumers. And then obviously you have to adapt. And as you go through, a bit like what's happening with COVID at the moment, we went into where travel agents started to lose business back in 2006 and 7. And we said, we're seeing slippage in our business. So we had to adapt and change to a direct platform, which is why we came out with the multitrip.com brand. And that's done very well. We weren't going to be too aggressive in the pricing. We were going to be competitive. And we knew that would work for us. But even like from the very early starts, we launched products such as carhireaccess.com, weddinginsurance.ie back in 2006. They were very small. And, you know, sometimes you may have ideas in a startup and a business that you think, okay, let's roll this out in the business. It may not take off instantly, but now we're seeing like Car Hire Access and Gadget being one of our largest products that are out there. But back in 6 up until probably 2010, the volume that was coming from that business was still small. But the fact that we had those domains, we had an online, and it was something that you're seeing into the future. You know, tour operators people are going to dynamically package their own flights and car hire and everything. So we knew it would come, but sometimes it just takes time. So just for people to be aware that you may have great ideas, you can launch them, but sometimes it doesn't happen instantly, but they will come. If you can foresee into the future that this is an opportunity, then it will come and just stick by it and it will eventually come to you, you know?
And Ciaran, just sticking with the kind of motivation piece, was it the motivation to be your own boss that kind of kept you going through the early years? Because it mightn't be apparent to our audience today, but for a lot of startups that eventually do get that kind of critical mass and start scaling, there's a lot of lean years and kind of hard work that go in before you get to that point. But obviously you need to persevere and stick with it. So what was it that kind of kept you going during those leaner earlier years, perhaps?
I'll have to say we were a bit lucky, because even in our very first year of opening, we made profit. Like, it's about 30 grand. It wasn't anything major at the time. But over the following years, we picked up the likes of the budget travel account. And that was a £2 million account. That was a really big win for us. And for me, the motivation was, picking up new business and getting the excitement of winning new business, the excitement of putting your first radio ad or radio sponsorship, your first TV campaign that you do. All that stuff for me was, I had a buzz about all of that. Winning new business all the time was always that buzz. I did want to be my own boss, but back in 2003, myself and Rowan set up the business between us. I was at the front end of it, the sales, the web, the marketing, design stuff. And Rowan was in the background. So we complemented each other in our styles. But for me, I love the buzz of all of this. You're seeing your first launch of a product, getting out there. Like, we had the volcanic ash that happened as well. And we were first out there, because I was flying the day the volcanic ash came down from Scotland, and I was on a flight. I was stuck in England and I had to get back. And within about 3 weeks, we had a product first out in the market to deal with volcanic ash and travel disruption cover, which covers even COVID up to now. So those little wins, those little cases of winning business and seeing your ad that you've created. And I was very much at the forefront of the creativity of our characters, Marvin the monkey from Multi-Trip and so on. And seeing them on radio and TV and seeing the business coming in, that for me was a winner. It wasn't just, it was great being your own boss because you have to lead the way, but you also have those responsibilities. We had 85 staff under us, so you have that responsibility, looking after making sure everybody gets paid every week. Now, luckily, we did well even during the economic crisis. We kept marketing, kept spending, just got better deals. And I think if any of the media companies that ever come and say, well, what was Ciaran like to deal with? He's just said he never stopped looking for the deals. We had radio stations knocking on our doors, but if they didn't give us a deal, we weren't getting value. We didn't market with anyone unless we got value. And it was all about getting the deals as well,
And the buzz, you speak about the buzz and the excitement of doing that. And Bernard, you spoke about that as well a little bit. But Ciaran, just sticking with you, how important was it to have that co-founder there at the very start of the journey and the earlier stage of the journeys as you were building up the buzz, to have somebody to enjoy that buzz with together?
Yeah, it's good. It's good to have somebody that you can bounce ideas off. So, I'd be very sort of forthright and I'd be very pushing the agenda a lot. And Rome was a bit more laid back, and it worked well for us. We very rarely had any arguments in the business, which was great. I think in the early days, it's nice to have something to bounce off somebody and go, what's your thoughts? And, and we worked quite well from that point of view. But even when I bought him out in 2013, I don't think there's not one individual that makes a company. In 13, we had created a senior management level, junior management team, and you rely on your senior team and those people, their confidants. And Maeve, who took over from me as the new MD, she started from the business all the way up, and I relied on her. She was like a rock for me as well. So, whether you have a co-founder or whether you're the boss, the people under you, your next line of senior management, will the people that you'll be working closely with and relying for their input and their views as well. And you have to take that into consideration.
And Bernard, so you've obviously, lived through that team environment for years and years, again, playing with the Dubs, but going back to your business backgrounds with Legacy and PepTalk, how did you come up with that idea, and who else was there? Did you have a co-founder, or what was the kind of origin of both of those stories?
Yeah, like Ciaran, I think when you're starting something and you're getting into the trenches, having a co-founder is very important. I wouldn't have done it. My cousin James, who's a lawyer, he came to me with an idea around sponsorship and player management, stuff like that, in 9 years ago now, and that's where Legacy was born out of. And it was massive, especially in the early years, as Ciaran says, when it's just kind of you need someone there to keep you motivated, or to bounce ideas off, or to celebrate the little wins. And like I'm commercial manager. I'm all about I love the heel of the chase and closing business. That's what I live for as well. And in Pep Talk, myself and James, again, co-founder, we brought in a bit of expertise with a girl called Michelle Fogarty, who's in the HR world. She built Twitter out in Ireland. She was bringing, obviously Pep Talk is in the HR stack, or the HR world, and she was bringing that expertise. And we had another a grey-haired elder gentleman, who's not even grey hair, but an elder gentleman called Dave Clancy, who's a tax accountant. He actually gave us the room, the box office we had when we started Legacy, and he's been a co-founder along the way. So those relationships are very important. Those people, as Ciaran says, things evolve, relationships evolve. You bring team changes, the dynamic of the work evolves and changes, and you set up a senior team. Legacy is a full senior team now. Pep Talk is we're still building it. It's getting there, but yeah, I think having the right team around you, and Ciaran said it resonated with me. He said him and Rome, they had the different personalities, and it worked. Myself and James totally different. I'm probably like Ciaran. I like to be out there making the sale, getting out, meeting people, wining and dining and networking, which is I don't know when that'll be back again. But and James is a blue, as they say in the personality test. He's attention to detail. He puts the head down. He grasps the work, and I'm kind of more of a yellow, which is more of a kind of a creative and kind of out there person. So I think having someone, understanding your personality types, and having someone that is different to you, because that's what adds to value. No one is all the full rounded circle for business. Very few people have. I'm sure Ciaran is a red, a strong CEO type, but for me, I needed to have that support and that kind of attention to detail behind me.
So Ciaran, back to you, and let's again with the earlier phases of Blue. What was the kind of digital innovation that you identified back in those early years that you kind of started to leverage, and which allowed you to get the traction and scale?
Sure. Well, the very first year we opened, actually, our current IT director, he had opened up a brand new company, and I kind of felt, here's an opportunity. I dealt with him before in my previous company. He's gone out on his own. He needs new business. I'm going to be able to get a deal here. So I got him to build this website for 12,000 euros, which was great. The very first blueinsurance.ie site got up and running. And then like with any sort of IT technology company, when you go back and you sort of want to add on new bits, etc. and so on, then we wanted to add a small new thing onto the site. And he said, that's another 12,000. I said, hang on a second, you built this for 12 grand. So I said, we're going to get fleeced here. And Bernard probably has dealt with some people and stuff like that. So we turned around and we said, right, we're going to offer you a job as an IT director, gave him a small shareholding in the business. And I think that's been a success for us as well, is that we brought the IT technology in-house. We started off in classic ASP, then went into .NET and so on. So building and having been able to build that in-house meant we could get it done quickly, efficiently, wasn't going to be over costly. Probably not up until probably about 12, and then it got very expensive with IT software developers. But up until that point, I think that helped us get ahead of everybody else, get out there with the sites. And another winner for us was that other companies at the time were maybe registering Hodgins, Percival.ie insurance. We were thinking, this is not what they're going to do. People are going to be typing in gadget insurance, pet insurance in. And from an SEO point of view, by having these domains, and I know even Theo said to me, those domains won't last, or you can't rely on them all the time. But we have a site in the UK called annualtravelinsurance.com, and I think it's in position 2 or 3 in the SEO for the term annual travel insurance, and that costs us very little. So it has stuff like that worked for us, carhireaccess.com and so on. They worked well over the years. And then Blue Insurance itself, we were dealing with agents and brokers, and we kept it in that platform for them. And when we went to the direct platform to direct consumer, then we came up with our direct brands, and we had those domains and stuff. So one of the ones I could never get was travelinsurance.ie, because the UK company had it, but we had pretty much all of the rest, which wasn't too bad.
And how many different brands, sub-brands or domains had you going at any one time?
We registered about 250, but actually trading was about 16 brands. So in Ireland, when we had weddinginsurance.ie, the UK version of it would have been Cover My Wedding, and motorbreakdown.ie, Cover My Breakdown, stuff like that. And then the likes of Car Hire Access and Multi-Trip. So we will be on the aggregators in the UK as well. So people don't realize that, you know, they might hear the brand here on the radio with Craig Doyle or Catherine Thomas doing the ads. But in the UK, we had 3 or 4 different brands on the likes of Money Supermarket and Go Compare and stuff like that. And we put those 3 brands on, they compete against each other. So if somebody didn't like multitrip.com, they might take greatcover.com or economy cover and buy on that. And we'd have them in the top 10 fighting against each other, but we were blocking the market to some degree. And we did quite well. Like, I mean, nearly 40% of our turnover was from the UK as well. And then we had multitrip.com.au in Australia for a period of time as well. So yeah, that was the sort of plan. And it worked to some degree in the UK as well.
Quite a lot going on there. And obviously all of those different brands were kind of feeding back into the same insurance engine at some point in the business model.
Yeah, I mean, they were all clients and they're customers of Blue Insurance as a company, so we could cross-sell a market right across the platform. But it also meant for us, by having all these different brands, it meant at different times of the year, like it used to be May until August that travel would be huge, but that changed in the last couple of years. Travel was busy all year long. But the likes of gadget insurance would be really popular between September when the new phones and gadgets come out, up until nearly January, February. We'd have wedding insurance very popular from November to March. So we could turn on the media and off the media at certain points and put them on. And so we could take control of sponsorship of stations, and that worked quite well. And we could change the brands around whenever suited us on the stations.
So Bernard,
can I ask some question there, Ciaran? What type of media did you find when you invested? Because I know you invested in everything. What would you say produced the best return for you, or is it that it was measurable, or what do you think?
In the early days for us, it was radio and Dublin Bus. Wow. And we used to get really, because of the deals that we were looking to do all the time, it was, we want a deal, if we're going to take 5 different slots for Dublin Bus during the year, we want run on, and that was important for us. So you pay for 2 weeks, but you really wanted 4 to 8 weeks on the bus. You wanted to see it going around all the time. And during the crisis, God, I remember we paid for 2 weeks and we were on a bus for a year. So still seeing your brand going around, the multi-trip going around was great from that point of view. Likewise with the radio ads, we take sponsorships. And you might find on some radio stations, sponsors would have, they would say the weather sponsored by, we would have the weather going in and coming out of it, where others just did it in. And so, and we got a lot of free ads with the sponsorship. So that was important to us. In the last couple of years, definitely digital became PPC, and you could even see in the last 3 years, your position in SEO ranking. If you weren't in the top 3, you were seeing your numbers coming down. And that was very important to have the top 3. And that's why the domains were important. Obviously, you know, the mobile platform, the speed, all that element of your digital side of things, your sites need to be really good in order for your ranking to stay up there. It's not purely on the domain, but that did help us and that did work. But certainly PPC and SEO even more important these days. But radio and stuff, we got Sky News for a bargain for about 4 years, you know. Then we decided to just take a break from and move on, and stuff like that always works. Get you to see your first TV, and companies seeing your ads on TV just gives a bit more profile, and then you can wind it back down after a period of time as well and stick with radio or whatever else, you know.
And Bernard, when you think about PepTalk and scaling PepTalk, what are the kind of strategies that you're looking to spend the time and effort in to create that awareness and hopefully lead to kind of new business? Yeah,
and that question, I'm glad to hear that, because that's where Legacy is going, into an SEO and search agency. So that's glad to hear Ciaran's saying that's where it's going. But for PepTalk, as we scale, so I'm myself and James, CEO of PepTalk. I'm kind of half my time between Legacy and PepTalk, and I do sales for both. And scaling your sales process is really important for us. Ireland is obviously a small country in the grand scheme of things. Still very important to us and a big part of our journey. But for us to really meet our ambition, it has to be international, and to do that, you need a sales process. So little things like inbound marketing, outbound reach, and getting that cadence. So we're looking at tools about how do you find and scrape 500 emails? How do you build that pipeline? How do you convert that? How do you get that sequencing of say of communications from initial outreach to adding on LinkedIn? If it's an enterprise sale, trying to hit 5 or 6 different people in an organization, all these different things. That's what I'm passionate about, is the sales side. But then technology side, and a bit of advice. I'm not a technology person, and we learned a lot, and it costs a lot of money, as Ciaran said. A lot of money when we started PepTalk to build. We're a mobile app, and we're a dashboard as well for the organization, and we've outsourced it to Eastern Europe, which is better rates. But it's very, if anyone listening is thinking about going into a technology solution, having a tech founder, someone who really understands it, would save you a lot of money and a lot of hassle. But we're there. It took us a bit of time, but that's so yeah, the roadmap of our technology is very important to our clients, because we're selling culture, we're selling change in organization. I'm on a call now at 3 o'clock with a big telecommunications UK and I company, and we're at the final stages, and we're up against a mental health provider around mindfulness. And I says, my argument is that yes, solution or solving or giving content or giving a solution to a problem is great. We're trying to be that preventative method, that we create opportunities for people to change habits and to be better, and that will meet more of the organization, because engagement is important to us, that we have people on our technology, because that's what the organization, we're a B2B model, and the organization needs to see engagement with our tool. So that's kind of it's probably everything in an organization that we challenge as you scale. The technology, the architecture, all of that back end stuff. We're across the states. We're 2,000 or 3,000 people in Manila, for PayPal, on the technology. So literally the GDPR and actual the physical architecture of the technology has to be strong to make sure that the technology doesn't fall over. So that's all the exciting bits. That's above my head in the organization, but technology and so basically, to answer your question in short form, we're going through a VC conversation now. We're raising money to get into After International, and the two areas that we're more or less, the majority has been spent on is sales, and marketing. Sales are the same thing, so marketing inbound, and technology, bringing our technology team in house, as Ciaran did, and bring them in, and then you can kind of grow it the whole time.
And Bernard, are those the things that you think make your business different from your competitors, or what do you think differentiates PepTalk?
So there's two things that I think differentiate us. So we're in the HR world, so there's a lot of different sellers. The individual going in, selling well-being, doing a talk is a competitor to us, but the real big competitors are big American companies that are selling a solution like us, that is content. So we do content from mindfulness to nutrition to financial well-being to sexual, your relationships, literally the whole, because if you're selling to an organization with 10,000 people, every demographic, so many different demographics, and you have to be broad in your offering. But where we come in, we provide gamification, we provide a social community, we put people into teams. So the two USPs for us are, we focus on the team, maybe our learnings of sport and understanding how to motivate each other. So peer-to-peer motivation and team is really important to us. And also we're focusing on the managers. Any of the programs that we've implemented, especially in the early days, engagement, I said, is important. So there's a big drive, big load of crack. There's competition, there's a bit of fun. And then 6 months in, they're like, okay, I had that for a while, I'm bored by that. So we are working with managers, so teams and managers. And if you can show managers, and basically what we're trying to do is drive performance in an organization. If you can get people to feel well, and feel in a good place, and show up to work in the morning feeling energized, and they're going to be more productive. So the value of well-being, even though it's a fluffy word, and it's become a lot more solid now since COVID, because of the challenges of looking into all of our homes and different things. If you can get a person to feel supported, back to the kind of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you can give purpose to a person, if you can make them feel supported, if you can make them feel as if they can add value to their organization, they will give it back to you in spades, like we try and do in the sports pitch, make people feel part of this, that's bigger than us. And that's what we try to do for the organization, to give a sense of pride and give that social community as well. And the byproduct of that is performance. So if we can show managers that you can get better performance, better conversations, better outputs, are you mad not to do this? They're like, okay, and they'll try it. And if you can get managers, they are the facilitators in an organization. We talk about culture. So we CEOs and senior teams always say, yeah, it's a great thing. Obviously, we love our employees and we want them to be supported. Then the middle managers are like, oh, I'm too busy for this. I'm answering up and I've got a team of 50 people below me. I don't have time to engage with these nice to haves. But if you can get them, when you think about culture, it's not the CEO and the value set that's on the wall. It's those managers that are the culture of an organization. Because if they have 50 people below them, or 100 or 10,000, they're the person that they look to for their annual leave, for their expenses, for their promotions, for their purpose, for the people they want to impress. So culture is living and breathing, and it has to be always farmed, as we say. So it's not just a solution. We don't provide technology and throw it over the wall and off you go. So we have to stay involved and work on a program and bring people on that journey. But I suppose it's we're trying to. I suppose it's nice to be in a space where you can kind of help organizations, help people in COVID. So that it's been really a breath of fresh air over the last few months for us to be busy with it.
Yeah. And Ciaran, back to you. What differentiated Blue from the rest of the competition that enabled you to get that kind of traction and scale? And also, I guess now that you're out and perhaps you can reflect and look back.
Yeah.
What made you different when times mightn't be good? So when there was, external factors in the marketplace, like the, I don't know, like things that affected the travel industry or economic crisis, or even more recently in COVID. How does that kind of maintain your differentiation?
Sure.
When things are, but go back to the start. What differentiated you for starters?
For starters, I think was innovation. Obviously, with the agents, we built the first online platform that they could book straight throughout, give a policy and hand it over to a customer. So there's nobody really doing it at that time. As you started to see different crises come on in the industry, such as the agents losing business to the likes of Ryanair.com and Aerlingus.com, we adapted and went into direct market. So we're seeing people weren't booking as much with the agents at that time. They have gone back a bit, but at that time they hadn't. So that's where we came out with our multitrip.com. Again, the product offering we were more competitive than everybody else, and we had better cover. So we're going to the point whereby when we started and launched multitrip.com, which was at the end of 2007, just as you went into the crisis, totally the wrong time you would think to launch a product. We were offering an annual policy for $21.99. In those days, the banks and brokers were selling these policies at 150 quid. So we decided we're going to take a little bit of the cream, but we'll get the volume of it. And it worked for us because at the time, people were taking annual policies for 21 quid. Because of the crisis, they weren't traveling 2, 3, 4 times as they were before that. They're only traveling once a year, but they were still buying the policy because it was seen as value for money. Beyond that, then the innovation was coming out with the new products, such as the travel disruption cover. We came out with, we were the first into the marketplace with the likes of the wedding insurance, the car hire excess, the gadget insurance. So there was no real gadget insurance out there until we came along with that. And then you saw the iPhones and all that coming. And then likewise, in 2015, we launched 2-year car and home insurance. So we did a survey with behavior and attitudes. They went off to the analysis of the market. They said people are fed up having to renew every year. They love the idea of the 2 years. So we came out with the 2-year car and home. And for us, that was being competitive, giving good quality products and giving the service that we've always ingrained in the staff from day one since we opened the door. If this was your parents, how are they being treated with regards to the service from the company, with the service from the claims provider, the assistance provider? And if you felt your family member wouldn't have been treated fairly, then we go back and, because we're obviously a broker still, we go back and we argue on behalf of that customer. And sometimes even when we did go back and argue, the underwriter might say, oh, no, that's the policy wording. If we felt that was unfair, then we often paid out of our own funds as well. So I think the customer service level was always second to none. We always wanted to make sure. And if I got involved in it, then, even up until I just finished up 2 weeks ago, I still had access to social media pages. So if I saw a complaint coming in, I'd be all over it, managing. And that's the way it was ingrained in all the staff. We care about our customers. We make sure they get looked after. They might be buying a product that's very competitive, nearly as a low cost price, but we can still give the top end service. And I always argue that with Ryanair, that you can give a low cost product, but also give good service as well. So
Ciaran, just on that, like as an entrepreneur and an MD, did you evolve your leadership style? Did you kind of aspire to a leadership style that you then became comfortable with, or how did you establish the leadership which would have influenced the culture of your organization in the ways that you've just described around customer care and so on?
well, at the very beginning, probably all the way through until around 2013, I was sitting in the middle of the floor with staff. So with a big open plan office, they're probably horrified the fact that I'm stuck in the middle of them all. I can hear what was going on, but I was very much, I would have been very much hands-on in a lot of elements of the business at that time. And to the point whereby call center be down one end, if I hear somebody struggling on a call, that was either a complaint or someone was getting hassled, I go, what happened there? And you can do that to a certain point, but as your business expands and grows, they threw me into an office when we moved to bigger premises, locked the door, kept me inside. And then you just have to sort of delegate. And you know, at that point, we did it in 2012, we did a management for growth course, which really helped our business. Rowan, myself, and Maeve was on it at the time. We didn't know Rowan was about to leave at that point, but we did the growth course, and we always wanted to know, you know, we wanted to find out, when do we scale? At what point do you need a HR manager? How, you know, how many staff do you need to have in to bring in a HR manager? Stuff like this, and it just naturally came from that course. And within the period of probably a couple of months after that course, Rowan's gone, I'm tired, I want to get out. So I bought him out. And then we took it to the next level, and we had that line of management, senior management, line of junior management, and it naturally flowed from there that my delegation just continued and spread around to the managers, and I was relying on them to do their job to make sure their team were doing it right, and they'd come back and relay that to me, and if not, then we would deal with it. But generally, it had done right well for us. But certainly innovation over the years helped us get ahead of our competitors and be competitive and have that pricing, and really caring about what the customer, how the customer was treated was very important.
Yeah. And Bernard, you've obviously been around some big characters and personality on the sporting field, leaders on the sporting field, as well as, you know, the fantastic managers that you've played under. Has that influenced your own leadership style as an entrepreneur? And how do you kind of describe your leadership style in the growing business where you're at the moment?
Yeah, I think I would always say on the football pitch, my biggest talent was my self-awareness, to understand where I'm at and when I'm going well and when I need to work on stuff. And I think I have that in business as well. I understand my strengths and my weaknesses genuinely, and I don't lead a team of 40 people for the reason that that's not my skill set. My skill set is being out there, meeting people, being creative, thinking about that innovation, as Ciaran said, and coming up with the new directions and things like that, and strategizing for the business. And James, I would have left a lot of the management, which is not it's not the question you ask, because you asked about leadership, and I think leadership is different to management. Managing people doesn't mean that you're a leader, and I try, and like we do on the pitch, you try and lead by example. You try and just do your job well, and try and show a proper or a decent set of characteristics for the people that are on your team. And that's the way I approach things. I come in every morning and I work hard, and I try and make people feel that I'm always trying to push the boundaries, push that innovation, always think big, never be shy of an idea, no idea. All of this type of stuff is the things that I'm passionate about instilling that belief in the team. Obviously the Richard Branson thing about train them better, that they can leave and treat them like they want to stay. You know what I mean? That's a kind of a mentality that I'd like to live by. Culture is very important to us. We have things like unlimited leave. We can't have all the benefits of a Google office, let's say, but we try and meet people where they're at. So that's kind of where I've worked with some amazing leaders, and every one of them had a different skill set. Like Pat Gilroy was an arm around the shoulder and a kick in the arse for me more often, and Jim Gavin was an attention to detail. He was a process leader, as in he knew what he wanted to do. He kept pushing innovation, but he wasn't a people manager, if you know what I mean, or he wasn't an arm around the shoulder guy. But obviously one of the most successful leaders that sport has seen. So I think there's no one shape fits all, and for me, I just try and get out there and keep at it, keep busy, keep innovating, and keep driving that that positivity, you know.
And Bernard, as the sales guy, you know, that means that you're out and about, you're having the customer meetings and trying to develop the pipeline of prospects and so on. Do you tend to be more of the eyes of the company towards new innovation opportunities? Because you're obviously going in, meeting people, having the conversations, but that also gives you a glimpse into where the competition is at and what they're up to.
100%. There's a couple of key kind of information points we take when we're trying to develop new products and innovation. And I'm sure Ciaran said it there with the customer. So we have a team that actually works with the customer on feedback on, like, fundamentally, we're trying to solve their problem. So us thinking we have this great solution is fine. And that's where we start with as our MVP. And then you evolve to meet them with the demand and meet the solution that the organization are trying to solve. So we have a team that's looking at feedback, but also, yeah, I think you're right. I think I'm getting an understanding of what people are looking for in the conversations and what we might be missing out on. Things like at the moment, just to give you an example, PepTalk is as I said, a well-being solution. Onboarding has been a massive challenge for organizations in COVID because of remote. Young graduates and young demographics coming into organizations to find it very difficult because they don't have that support. When I was an accountant, I had a guy my manager across the way, and my two peers left and right. I asked 1,000 questions a day on things I was doing, our conversation. We don't have that social bit, but we don't have that learning capabilities in organizations now. So onboarding to make people feel part of the organization, but also to help them in that initial period is so important. And that's an area that we've now implemented into our roadmap. You can't obviously turn it on straight away, but I'm pushing the team to say, guys, this is what I'm hearing. Like 2 or 3 of really big entrepreneurs in Ireland, big tech companies said, you solve this and we'll do business. You know what I mean? And I'm like, well, if they're saying that, that's a problem, because well-being is a problem and people's mental health and all that is a problem. But when you get a CEO and you're solving a business problem, as in a real, this is actually affecting our day-to-day, then you're providing a solution that's of value. And that's where, that's been on the front line. You get to hear those things. And sometimes you bring it back to the people who are in the office that are hearing the ideas. They're like, oh, that's not you have to have those battles about innovation. And I'm sure Ciaran has had loads of them where he throws an idea and they're like, that's mad, Ciaran. What are you talking about? But I think that's putting all the information in a pot and then making a decision, I suppose, is the right way to do it.
Yeah.
Ciaran, do you have any insights on the whole COVID thing now over the last 9 months in terms of the disruption, but equally the opportunity and the innovation that might be arising from that?
Well, I wouldn't like to have a disaster recovery building or be a property person at the present moment in time, because I know even myself, just before we finished up, we were saying, look, we'd 85 people, with people in Dublin and people in Cardiff, and we had to get them, in their houses. And we had probably about 25 laptops of contingency, but we did have to move quickly. So yes, we had to move, we'd get everybody at home. And in fact, even when people were coming back, we said we had enough space. We were lucky enough that we had enough space for 155 people. In the Dublin office, there were 70. So we would have had enough space for people to come in, but we kind of felt there was a lot of people that were nervous about it. And we really wanted to look after the interests of the staff rather than just totally purely about the business. And the business still had to run. We call center people, but generally, I think for us, it's worked out quite well. The very early stages of COVID, when the lockdown happened, we were having sort of updates from Microsoft and everybody be offline and you'd be panicking. But I think once we got that resolved, it worked out quite well. When we did start to come back, when the lockdown was over, we were talking about bringing in 50% of people 1 week and 50 the following week. And I had a chat with my managers and they said, look, we would like to work from home for, maybe 2 or 3 days a week. And now I don't know what will happen into the future. I did agree that, yes, let's do that. I was in the office every morning, Monday to Friday, and I'd leave at lunchtime and I'd be back here, walk the dog, and then be back working here, and was busier than ever. And really for me, I think I had 1 weekend in the whole lockdown that I ordered a takeaway and it came, it was the wrong one. And that for me was just set me off. I'm going to bed. Or apart from that, it didn't bother me too much, but I know some staff had issues with it. And And we had a wellness program in there. We were trialing a wellness program. It wasn't Bernard's. I had known I would have got him in. We have an employee assist program now for staff as well. So there's an opportunity for you, Bernard, to get in touch with David. I'll connect with you and I'll send you on the details. But
Always
I
be
do think it is important. I do think it is important for staff and their mental well. It is becoming more and more important, and it is something that each business out there needs to look after. And I do think it has changed. I do think a lot more of us are going to be working from home, not driving for an hour and a half. Some people, we have people in Cavan and people in Portlaoise coming to Dublin each day and stuff. And, you know, this certainly, one of them was talking about leaving, but the fact that now she can work 3 days at home and only has to come in maybe 2 days whenever lockdown is back again, she'll stay with the business and just have to be a bit more flexible with staff. And if you don't, then I think you're going to lose staff to companies that are flexible and are happy for people to work from home. So.
Okay, well, look, I just keep an eye on the clock. We're flying along, right? So at this stage, I just want to say to the audience, for students who are tuning in and other people who might be tuning in, if you want to get some questions in, go to the Q&A section at the bottom of the page there, and let's see what comes in. Remember, the chat is disabled, so just use the Q&A if you want to send us your questions now. So while those questions are coming in, Ciaran, I'd like to ask you, why did you decide to sell your business?
Good question. I think after I bought Rowan out and he left the business in 13, my plan was for strategic growth by launching a 2-year car and home and then growing the business more, expanding it. So I kind of felt I wanted to take it to a next level. And when I got to that next level, and the plan for the turnover was 45 to 50 million with good returns, then, you know, I said, right, this is something that would make me think about selling at that point. There's an element of it that you get a bit tired. There's an element of it in your gut, you know, now is the time is right, and you want to experience other things in life, whether that is retirement. I'm only 47, or 48, so I don't think I'll be retiring, even though I'm taking a break at the moment. But I think if the right offer comes along and you want to try other things in life and you feel you've taken the business to a certain level and you feel the right offer is there and the right company to take over, then, and I think all the shareholders, obviously I was the largest, there was 3 other smaller shareholders, and we all believed the time was right. And even now with COVID and everything going on, everybody goes, aren't you so lucky that you've sold it when you did at the time, and so on. So yeah, I think your gut will be right. And your gut is generally right in a lot of cases, even during your whole business career. So just to feel to go with that, and obviously I did well out of it, so I can't complain.
Okay, cool. So look, in a minute, I'm going to ask the two of you to maybe give some tips and advice to prospective entrepreneurs out there, especially students of the business school here at DCU and our partners in IIDB. But before we do that, I'm going to take a sample of questions. So maybe some quick fire questions. Let's see what comes up. Seriously, this is going to be a bit random now. So Bernard, how has technology helped you adapt to COVID as a salesperson, where you would traditionally have relied on in-person contacts? So is there any objectives of your role where COVID-driven technology like Zoom or Slack cannot help you accomplish what you want to do?
I think it's been great. It's actually helped a lot of quick fire. It's helped a lot of businesses actually make sales online, whereas before you'd never make a sale, or very few people would make a sale online, without that kind of face-to-face sale. Whereas Zoom calls now and Microsoft Teams, people are open to actually making deals. We've actually closed several deals with PepTalk without ever meeting the person. So I think that's positive for the future.
Okay. Ciaran, which do you feel is more important in a new business? Someone who can manage the sales and marketing side of it, or someone who is better at the technical and management aspects of the business?
That depends on your business. If you're an online platform, I think it's a bit of both. Yeah, well, you need the marketeer, but you also need the IT. So it's sort of chicken and egg. You need your IT structure sitting there. So as Bernard said earlier on, it's very good to have somebody from a technical point being on your board or being in the company. But you do need a commercial marketeer to get out there and sell the product and be able to, a lot of it is about socializing and being able to communicate with people and having that drink or going for that dinner. A lot of deals are done over that way, and some people don't realize, but you need to be able to communicate and feel comfortable in being in a social environment to closing deals off.
Okay. Bernard, how do you target your first client? So do you look at the volume of the business that you'll get initially, or what do you look at getting that first client?
Well, the first client is about tapping up your contacts and getting people that you think you want, and seeing if you can get a soft entry, because you learn from there. But now it's about having a strategy about what exactly we're looking for, and looking at the companies in that industry or that number of bodies. So we're a sweet spot between 1,000 and 5,000 employees is the perfect sweet spot for us. We work with people from 100, and we work with 23,000 people in PayPal. So our sweet spot is in that middle ground. But understanding who you're going to make money from, who is that sweet spot, is one of the most important things in sales, because you can be a busy fool, and I have been a busy fool a lot of times. We're selling to the wrong people or selling to the wrong organizations.
Okay. Ciaran, I'll give you this question. Do you think companies, I won't mention them, but do you think telco companies are shooting themselves in the foot in relation to customer service? And do you think Comreg are doing an efficient job in regulating the sector, as we've openly seen politicians question whether they're protecting consumers or not? Maybe not speak to the telco retail, but just generally in terms of companies providing their customer service and protecting consumers.
I do think that a lot of companies that have moved their customer service abroad is suffering now. A lot of telcos have gone to Egypt and have gone to India from a cost saving point of view. But I still think even us being in Dublin and Cardiff, sometimes Irish people don't want to speak to people, from Cardiff, the accent, or they don't get the bit of humor, whatever. So we have to be very careful about that. But I do think the telcos are suffering a little bit by moving everything abroad. I think, I don't know. Look, I mean, it's cost saving versus they've obviously weighed it up and feel it is beneficial for them, but it gets a bit frustrating when you're trying to communicate, or if you have a problem and you're having issues at the other end understanding you.
Okay. Bernard, there's two questions here which I'm going to conflate, but there's one, you mentioned a few translatable skills you were able to take from GA to business. What did the game teach you about competition in the business industry? And let me see, where's the other one? How much did your football career teach you on your business venture? Did it influence you to dig deeper into high performance and what it takes to be successful, and thus came about your startups?
Yeah, hopefully answer two of them with one answer here. Sport gave me that sense of team and dynamic, and understanding that to understand your strengths. Like, a sports team have different people for different jobs, and where we got to in sport is that we understanding your role very well and having trust in the guy beside you to do his job. Yes, you have to cover each other and you work together as a team, but I think in the workplace as well, having trust in your team, letting them get after the things and express themselves, like on a sports pitch, is important. And also leading that, like I took a lot of the cultural kind of aspects about foundations of hard work, humility, team dynamic, all of those things we took with Dublin. I'm trying to take into the workplace as well. Okay.
Bernard, somebody's asking, they would love to hear more about PepTalk. So where can you point them so they can find out more?
At PepTalkHQ.com. Check it out, or check on my social channels. Yeah.
Cool. And Ciaran, while we're at it, do you want to give a mention to Epion and Catanical?
Yep. If anybody wants to avail of Catanical, I'll give you a discount code Mully MULLY 20 at Catanical.ie, and you'll get the diffusers and oils at a discount. Good for your health and well-being. And Epion is obviously a HR solution for any company out there. I've been using them in blue for the past 24 months, and very, very good, very competitively priced as well. So there's a few additions coming to it as well, which will make it ahead of the game now in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, cool. We're nearly at the end. Ciaran, I'll give you this one. Do you see working from home as the future, even after the vaccine is distributed?
I see it as a part-time element of I don't think people want to work 100% from home. I think people want that integration and, being able to communicate with people in their offices and their colleagues. So 50-50, I would say, but certainly there will be an element of working from home going in the future.
Cool. Okay. And to wrap up, these are questions that I was going to ask anyway. Bernard, I'll give you this one, seeing as you're a DCU and a business school alum. But what is something that you realize now after starting your respective businesses that you wish you knew at the start?
Oh God, that's a very difficult question.
We'll have to come back and do another hour on that.
No, well, my bit of advice to anyone who's thinking about doing their own thing or getting after an idea is Pat Phelan. I know he's a pal of Ciaran's as well. He's a great guy. I follow him on social media. He's Sisu, but he's a great character. He says his best advice for future entrepreneurs is just go do it. It's never a good time. There's never ever stars don't align. And also realize that things will probably go be difficult before they get better. I didn't get a wage for 2.5 years from Legacy. We found it out. I went after it. But if you believe in something, get after it. And if you give it enough hard work, it will be successful.
And Ciaran, what about you? Do you have any advice for someone looking to set up their own business? And is there anything that in hindsight you wish someone would have told you?
Well, I think always go with your gut. There's always opportunities even during crisis. So like, I mean, we came out with staycation insurance when people weren't going abroad. Never give up on your ideas. And if you can fund it yourself, we offered somebody, this will give you an idea, we offered somebody 49% share in Blue Insurance for 50 grand when we started off. They wanted 51%. And we said, no. We said, we'll give you 49%. So when you see how much it sold for in the end, I'm glad I didn't give up the 49%. So if you can, try fund it yourself if you can, or get a loan, but try not to see too much equity if you have a good idea, if you can get away with that.
Great, good advice. And for anybody in the audience there, if you're a DCU student, there is a weekly startup clinic for students here on campus, and whether it's a commercial venture or social business, or it's just at the concept or ideation stage, or whether you're actually getting a bit of traction, you can contact, there's an email address, it's UStart, so the letter U, UStart at DCU.ie. And like I said, there's weekly startup clinics there with some experienced people who can help you out. So look, that's it. Guys, Ciaran, Bernard, thank you very much. And the dog as well, who's been so good.
Thanks,
but we do, thanks for your time and giving us an insightful and interesting talk. And also to all of the people who've turned up today for your participation and the questions, especially at the end. For those interested, there's more sessions of Transform, Startup and Scale Up taking place at the same time on Friday 26th. So tomorrow we have Patrick Gary from Loylap. On Wednesday, we have Professor Maura McAdam, who will be discussing her research in entrepreneurship and gender as part of a parallel series, SDG for B, that's the Social Development Goals for Business, and that'll be focusing on SDG 5, gender equality. Thursday, we'll have Dr. Catherine O'Keefe of Castlebridge, and on Friday, we'll have a speaker panel again. So we'll have Daniel Kine, founder and CEO of OpinionX. Daniel's a DCU student or alum. Ciara Sheehan, founder of Orb Media, and Wendy Slattery, co-founder and CEO of Beauty Buddy. So in the meantime, stay safe. Thanks again for joining, and be sure to join in the other series. And Ciaran and Bernard, thank you very much once again.
Thank you. Best of luck. Cheers.
Take care.
Thanks.